Hello, everyone, and welcome. So happy to have you here with me today. I am super excited. Extra special show for you today. My colleague, friend, super happy to have Jeannie Petrucci here with us today. Yay,
Hey,
Jeannie, welcome.
Leslie. So super fun. I'm so
Yeah.
watch out though. I've had 3 cups of coffee, avocado toast, and I did a Peloton ride with Tunde this morning. So I'm like on fire.
Yeah, that is awesome. All right. So that's good because we got a lot to cover today. So
Good.
all that
Good.
extra energy, we'll put it to good use today. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right. So again, welcome those of you that are joining us live, as well as those of you that are going to catch the replay. We're super happy to have you here today. And for those of you that don't know me, my name is Leslie Bytel, and I'm a business coach and mentor for health professionals. And we're going to just jump right in today. I do want to give you just a quick overview of a few of the things that we're going to touch on today. And then we're going to just jump in because, like I said, we've got a big show for you today. So today's topic is it's all about nutrition content to grow and scale your business. And anyone that's been following my work for any length of time, you all know this is a topic that's very near and dear to my heart. I'm always talking about, really the importance of using free content to develop that all important know, like, and trust, right? We want to deepen the relationship with our audience, preferably before we ask them to buy, right? So this is a really great topic. So basically, if you're looking to get out of that content generating hamster wheel, which many of us feel we know we should be doing it, but it really can be challenging. If that is you, you're definitely in the right place today. So we are going to be talking about a few things. Let me just give you a really quick overview. We're going to talk about how to create nutrition content that is built on an essential framework of health behavior theory, which is incredible. Love that. Behavior change. Why it's critical to include culinary support in your content, how to easily build offers that fit into my profit pyramid. You guys know about my profit pyramid. And if you don't, we can go through that. Well, maybe we'll even touch on it a little bit today.
We're definitely going to talk about that today. Yeah, for sure.
How to easily generate meal plans in minutes and brand them for your practice to project the highest level of professionalism and save tons of time. Love that. And various integrations to scale your practice and how they fit into the Living Plate RX to create a complete nutrition solution. All right, so we got a lot to cover. I'm going to hand it over to Jeannie. Jeannie, I would love for you to kick us off today, but just by telling us a little bit about you.
Sure.
And I really want to know what led you to doing what you're doing today. So give us a little
You cut out a
background.
little bit there. You said what led me to be doing what I'm doing? Is that what you?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I read your lips.
Yeah. How did you? What led you to this place where you're at today?
Sure. So introductions first. Hello, everybody. My name is Jeannie Petrucci. I am a registered dietitian, nutrition educator, and culinary coach. Registered dietitian is my second career. My first career was a culinary educator for 25 years. So basically teaching people how to cook healthy. And then I just decided I needed to be able to answer the questions from people coming to my events of, well, Jeannie, this food's delicious, but how does it help me? Or, how does it reduce my risk of certain diseases? And I really wanted to know the answer to the question. So I went back to school, and did anybody who's registered dietitian knows, like, it's a long path. So it took me like 7 years. But then I became a registered dietitian and opened up a private practice where I am standing now. I'm actually in my teaching kitchen. So really strong focus on culinary nutrition. So we're going to talk a lot about why culinary skills have to be part of the conversation. So when I opened up my practice, you're asking me kind of what inspired me to be doing what I'm doing now. I opened up my practice. I was probably about 6 months in. And already had a really great relationship, Leslie, with oncology centers. I'm in a spot in New Jersey where we have quite a few oncology centers around. And a lot of them do have interest in culinary education because nutrition, there's a lot of research that has been done on this. Nutrition is one of the top stressors in post-treatment cancer patients. So people who have undergone treatment, when they come out of it, nutrition is like one of the top stressors for them. And so they were always bringing me in. And so I was getting a lot of referrals, and a patient, we'll just call her Anne, came into my office. And this was not the first time a patient like Anne came into my office. She came into my office. She had just finished treatment for breast cancer. I'm telling you, she had a folder that was at least 2 inches thick from her oncologist. And she was clearly, deeply distressed, shaking, teary-eyed, and just basically started crying, saying, my oncologist wants me to follow an anti-inflammatory diet. He gave me all of this information and I need your help. She said, I need your help. Now, Anne worked full-time. She was a primary caretaker of 2 children. She desperately wanted to comply with what her oncologist was asking her to do. And so I'm just listening to her and like the stress level going up and up and up. And I just like got this knot in my throat, and my chest literally was pounding. And I'm sure most of you can probably relate. You've probably had a patient like this before. And she just needed help. And me giving her more handouts, more information was not going to solve the problem. It would have just created more overwhelm. I needed to come up with a better solution. So I worked with her, and as I'm working with her, developing these tools, and creating these tools took a lot of time. And I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. I don't want another Anne to walk through my door. I don't want another Anne to walk through another practitioner's door. I want nutrition professionals to be able to provide real relief and direction that is grounded in health behavior theory. And we're going to talk all about that. So sorry if that was a long story. I got through without crying, which is like, that's a bonus. Usually I cry when I tell that story because it truly was my personal epiphany. I'm like, okay, I can now no longer counsel patients because I can't create these tools that these patients need and counsel at the same time. It was just too much time and effort. And honestly, Leslie, that's where a lot of practitioners, I'm sure you know, that's where they find themselves, right? So they're getting guidance from like pros like you. Such a pleasure to be here with you. Really respect what you do and the services you provide. And then they have to still start trying to scale their business while creating all this content. It can't be done. I'm telling you right now. It simply can't be done. And so I gave up counseling. We now have registered dietitians here who see patients, and I focus 110% of my energy on, again, making sure that all of the Anns of the world are supported with content that is evidence-based, is appropriate, and will not add to their overwhelm, but will just help them long-term. Does that make sense?
It does. Yeah, okay. It does. Isn't it interesting how, I can remember my first patient that I worked with in my internship, my first patient I worked with at my first clinical job at Northwestern. Like, it's just so interesting how there's these poignant moments in our careers that really kind of change the trajectory of what we end up doing and, how we deliver our services. So super interesting. I'd love for you so Anne was clearly pivotal.
But then like Anne honestly represents so many people that come walking through my doors here, but she was just a great example because that was the day I decided I went home to my husband. I'm like, remember that private practice that, we built this teaching kitchen and I just wanted to help people. I think I need to do something different. And, God bless him. He was like, makes sense to me. Let's go. And so, with the support of my family and my 4 kids and you need support to do this kind of thing, I made that total shift. So tell us
a little bit about that shift, if you can get a little more specific.
Sure.
I'm sensing, and I am quite familiar with your platform, but just, for the audience that may not be as familiar, I know there's a big culinary component, right? So can you kind of give us an overview of the different pillars, because you support our audience in a lot of different ways.
Right.
And My hunch is a lot of people they don't know, right? They
Well,
don't even know.
okay, so all you have to do, so for all of the practitioners listening, I want you to drop in comments right now, what is your number one like time suck in terms of content generation? I mean, obviously you're generating content, right? You're generating website content, you're generating blog posts, social media, meal plans. Meal plans almost always, I won't give it away, but almost always is number one because it's a big time suck, right? So what is the one content generating behavior that you have to engage in or that you know you should be engaging in that, you know, that's just this big time suck for you? And that's everything that I do. Literally everything that practitioners are struggling with creating, not because they can't. I mean, I have a master's degree in nutrition education, so I have a different, different lens through which I look at content creation. But, you know, nutrition pros can generate content by themselves for sure. But when you take a look at the breadth of content that you need to scale your practice, grow your practice, even just establish like basic, like establishing a practice, you need to have a website, you need to have a blog, you need to have social media. Like, where's all that content coming from? Ask yourself that question. And the answer is, Living Plate RX now does provide a super affordable way for nutrition professionals to get their hands on done for them content that is created by me and my team. So can we talk a little bit about, we'll talk about all the pieces of content. I rattled off a bunch already, right? Meal plans, blog posts. The meal plans include recipes, definitely recipe development. Don't even try it. I love that.
Yeah. I would not go there either.
That Facebook user, we can't see who you are, but I love that you said that, because to my right, it looks like it's to your left, but to my right now is a sink filled with dirty dishes. You know why? Because Jackie Topol and Christy Del Coro of the Culinary Nutrition Collaborative and I were in the kitchen all weekend, not only developing recipes, but doing videos of them as well. So yes, recipes, just having access. Like, there are a lot of nutrition professionals who don't like providing meal plans, like especially if they specialize in disordered eating or eating disorders. Meal plans might not be appropriate for everybody, but just having access to recipes that fit into different nutrition prescriptions is super useful. And so we have thousands of recipes available on our meal planning platform. So why don't we just start there, meal planning? Because honestly, I think like it's number one on the list. And if you're a practitioner and you're not thinking about meal planning, it's probably because you're like, ugh, meal planning. I mean, it is the albatross around all of our necks, right? And the fact is, most people want meal planning. They don't know why, almost always, but they're like, do you do meal plans? I need a meal plan. The first question you need to ask that client is, so tell me about why you think you need meal plans, right? Somebody who is asking for a meal plan is asking for support. They need support. So you can say, I don't provide that kind of support, and let them walk down the street to somebody else. That's happened, right? Or you can provide the support in a way that is evidence-based, that is gentle nutrition, that is flexible, inclusive, and totally patient-centered. That's what my meal planning platform is designed to do. And we don't use computer algorithms. So it sounds awesome. I'll plug in my carbs, my proteins, my fats, and a computer algorithm is going to spit out a meal plan for me. I promise you, those are lousy meal plans. Like, nobody's going to eat those. And so having a patient-centered and registered dietitian created meal plan system has been my focus. So, for me, that has been, been a passion of mine. We have been developing it now for 4.5 years, with support from dietitians like you, Leslie. We have thousands of dietitians, and I say dietitians because primarily and initially it was dietitians who came on board with me. But now we have health coaches and other nutrition professionals using our platform. And they helped us. So like, we need this, we need that, we want it to do this. I'm like, okay, let's create our development sprint. And so I am a software developer. I have a team that develops and manages the software. And that's a big part. It's not the only part of what I do, but it is a big part of what I do, and addresses probably one of the biggest pain points for nutrition pros.
Completely agree. And guys, bear with me if my audio is a little funky today.
It's
am I
good
sounding
now.
okay? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah. Well, let me just say, I hear it all the time because I work with dietitians 24/7, right? And I help them put their programs together.
Yeah.
And I always ask, okay, so where does meal planning fit in? And I get the groan. I get the groan,
No,
right?
Leslie,
Like,
don't make me
oh,
do
Leslie,
it.
do I have to? I'm like, kind of,
Kind
yeah,
of.
because your clients are wanting it, right? Even though, just like you said, they don't always know how they're going to use it or if they're going to use it, but they come in thinking that's what they want.
Right.
And honestly, if you're not providing that service, you really are missing the boat, right? Because they are going to go find someone who does provide that service. So, and nowadays, guys, there's no reason not to provide it. It's not like the old days where, they would take 3 hours. If you're spending like hours on a meal plan, there's something wrong. Okay.
Yeah,
Don't do
exactly.
that. That is not a good use of
No,
your time.
no.
All right.
Well,
It's anti everything I teach, right? So just don't be doing that. Find yourself a good, easy solution like what Jeannie's offering here.
yeah. And, Leslie, I'm sure you talk about when you're working with your clients, like time is money, right? So if you're spending, I mean, gosh, creating one, and I did do it. Like initially, I'm like, I can't, it was killing me, right? Just creating these meal plans because I knew my patients needed access to recipes that were appropriate for, their health goals. It could take you at least 3 hours to create a custom meal plan for a client just to have them come back and say, ooh, I don't really like salmon. I was like, oh my gosh, like, what am I going to do? Right. That 3 hours, that's money. That is money out the door. So
this is not a revenue generating activity, right?
No, it is definitely, look, we figured it out. It is definitely not something you should be doing, right? The amount, and I promise this to everybody who signs up to Living Plate RX, like your membership to Living Plate RX will pay for itself probably in 1 week. I mean, honestly, if you track the amount of time that we're going to be saving you. So like, I think one of the things on the agenda is how easily you can generate meal plans. Like literally you can just click a button and send somebody a meal plan if one of our pre-populated plans works for that person. But even if you had to like populate one from scratch because somebody had preferences and allergies and something pretty unique, like our certified LEAP therapists, Leslie, they build them from scratch. I mean, it might take you 15, 30 minutes if you're new to build out an entire week of meal plan. So like, it's really, really, really easy to use. And we provide a ton of support. So when you're thinking about, whether you join, my membership or you purchase another meal planning platform, like think about your time and how assign a number to your time, right? So when I first started, I was like, my time is worth $125 an hour, right? Now my time is worth more than that because I have less time, right? So as you grow and as your business gets bigger, your time becomes more valuable. So it's worth it to invest in tools that make sense and align with what you're practicing. And I really do, like every time we put out a tool at this point, any content, and we'll talk about the content a little bit, Leslie, all the content that we put out is requested by our community. We have, I think, 2,790 people somehow right now using Living Plate RX. And they're like, hey, we just got a request. We needed a low oxalate handout. We had another request for gluten-free baking. I'm like, sure, we needed a handout for swaps, for eggs and flours. And they're like, whatever the community needs, we deliver, because if the practitioner needs it, then, the other 2,793, they probably need it too. So, yeah.
Exactly. So clearly the meal planning is one of the major pillars of,
Yes.
of Living Plate RX, right?
It is because incorporating and this, now we'll talk a little bit about behavior change, right? Culinary competence is at an all-time low, like low, right? We're talking, I mean, even people have had a lot of time to spend at home because of COVID and they're cooking more. Still, like cooking with a health goal in mind, whatever that might be, reducing risk for heart disease, whatever, like it's hard for people to make that transition. So the meal plans serve as this beautiful space for practitioners to have a conversation around food and nutrition with their clients, right? So, yes, and I think it's been coined like intuitive meal planning. Like I'm an intuitive meal planner. I don't always use the meal, like I don't follow a meal plan. I'll dip into my meal plans to find recipes, but I'll basically go to the store and buy whatever. I'll buy a chicken, a turkey breast, and tofu. And I can, whip up something for dinner, but I have 25 years experience as a cooking instructor, right? Most people don't. So that's the meal plans support practitioners in having that conversation. And that really speaks to behavior change. Like one of the core pieces of the foundation of behavior change is confidence. Do your clients have confidence that they can bring whatever nutrition prescription you're talking about to life in their own homes?
Right. And, I do want to jump in and say there are a lot of practitioners that don't feel super confident doing that as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to mention. And so I really feel like this can fill that, your platform can fill that gap as well, right? So if you yourself are a practitioner and, you're teaching all of these strategies for, to help your client to improve their health and their diet, if you're kind of lacking in confidence on the culinary side, that's going to create a gap, right? Because your client is going to really struggle to implement.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think
wired for the science, right? Like, and I can kind of relate to that, honestly. Like the way my brain works is very, it's very, I don't know, biology and science and, very clinical, right?
Yeah.
And I think that for people like me, that the culinary side really can be a little bit more challenging.
And when we say culinary, we're not like talking complicated recipes. We're not, trying to create America's next top chef. We're basically supporting people in getting simple, delicious, approachable recipes to the table fast. Because the one thing that everybody is short on is time, practitioners and patients alike, right? Everybody's busy. I don't care if it's a stay-at-home parent that walks into my office or a parent that has, a full-time job and 2 part-time jobs. Like everybody is busy. Our schedules are full. And so, really paying attention to that. And that's part of patient-centered care and health behavior theory. You really have to be mindful and have resources available to patients that kind of address that confidence level, right? So one of the things that I do recommend clinicians and nutrition pros do always is to assess, as part of the assessment process anyway, assess your client's confidence in the kitchen, right? If you get somebody between, I don't know, a 5 and a 7, like you're really good. Like that's good. But more often you're going to find people between like a 4 and a 6, asking them on a scale. And so you do have to provide a little bit more support there if you're looking to change behavior, right? So let's just be clear. When we're talking about health behavior, we're talking about changing a nutrition related behavior. Almost always, like 99.9% of the time, this is what my professors drilled into my head, 99.9% of the time, it is intake related. Okay. My job is not to lower somebody else's cholesterol. My job is not to help somebody manage their hypertension. My job is to reduce that person's sodium intake. My job is to reduce the saturated fat intake of that person, right? So always think, intake related behaviors. And so if you're talking about intake, you're talking about food. And so, the good thing is that it could take something that's pretty scary and make it joyful, right? Especially somebody who has a cancer diagnosis, right? That is super scary, or anything, diabetes or heart disease. It's a scary place to be. So let's talk about the food. Let's talk about the great things that you can bring into your house that are going to support you with meeting your health goals. And that's why I love working in this space, because it can be very joyful.
I love that. Let's talk a little bit about the other component to the platform, and that is the content.
Guys.
So tell me about that, because that's another. So like all these things that just can suck the life out of us, right? And I hear it, right? Like meal planning, big groans, right? Nobody wants to do that.
Posts,
oh my God.
Social media posts. What do I say?
My God. Can I just say, it's like, it really is like pulling teeth, right? And I get it. It's a lot. Okay. When you guys are, especially as you get busy, your practice gets busier, it's just the law. It's my favorite law of economics, right? The law of supply and demand. Your time is more valuable as you have less of it.
Yeah.
So, but yet it becomes more imperative that you are actually producing really awesome content to develop the relationship with your audience. So how do we juggle that?
Yeah, and trust, you cannot do everything. You can try. You can try, but you're going to burn out. Like that hamster generating content generating hamster wheel that you talked about. Like, I love that analogy, because that's where you're going to end up, right? You need to find a resource for evidence-based content that you can brand. Look, you're bringing Leslie into your life and into your practice because she's the business pro, right? Leslie doesn't want you downloading random like pieces of content that you can't edit. They all look different. The colors are wonky. The fonts are not right. Right. That affects your brand. Right. So if you're going to be spending time, and you should, really honing in on your messaging and your branding, you cannot be using random pieces of content that don't follow a framework and a system. It just becomes like this hot mess. And I'm speaking from a place of like experience. Like, I've done that, right? Like, I'm like, hey, anybody have a presentation on an anti-inflammatory diet? And there are very generous colleagues out there who will share their content for free or sell it at a low price. But you can't build a practice on that. You need a foundation built on health behavior theory. So yeah, so the meal planning, and I often get the question like, oh my gosh, Jeannie, like, why are you doing both? The meal planning software, like I don't know if you've ever developed software or know somebody who has, but like, wow, like it's a bear, right? You're never done, right? It is a resource intensive endeavor. So I often get asked, why are you doing that? And the library, which is also part of our membership, is where all the content lives. It is because, going back to what I said in the beginning, it is essential that you have both. You need the education and the content and the culinary piece. You can't have one without the other. So the pillars of health behavior theory that kind of I operate in, right? Number one is knowledge. And what's funny, Leslie, is like, that's where most clinicians spend their time, because that's where we're comfortable, right? Like, we've got expertise in certain areas and we just want to share, right? Like, we just want to do this knowledge dump on everybody. And, that it's okay, because people do need knowledge, but knowledge alone is not going to change somebody's behavior. But it's necessary, right? You need to provide evidence-based knowledge, whether it is in the form of a course, a digital course, which we have full digital courses built out and ready for you to brand and use on your own and edit. So of course, just like a simple handout, if somebody comes in and they just, were released from the hospital from a kidney stone, like, yeah, a low oxalate handout could be really useful, right? Along with a low oxalate grocery list and a low oxalate meal plan, right? So it kind of just all feeds into that. So the knowledge is really, really important. Another important piece of the health behavior theory is the perceived outcome expectations, right? Your clients are coming to you because they perceive that you are going to help them achieve their health goals. And that's all part of what you help the practitioners with, Leslie, right? Which is that messaging, which is so important, right? So getting people into your practice is really important, because they're getting there because they have a perceived outcome expectation. Like, oh, Leslie's going to help me. Jeannie's going to help me. This nutrition professional, they're going to help me. Right. And then as your relationship unfolds, like that continues. Like, are all of the things that you're going to be giving this person and all of the behaviors that you're going to ask them to engage in, do they perceive that they're going to help them? If they don't perceive a positive outcome, forget it. Like, you're never going to move the dial on health behavior theory. Like, just give it away now. It's just not going to happen. You're never going to change their nutrition related behavior unless they have a positive outcome expectation, right? And meal planning kind of plays into that. If they feel supported, they're going to have a more positive outcome expectation. Confidence, we already talked about. Your patients need to feel confident. So we have knowledge, perceived outcome expectations, confidence. They have to have confidence in the kitchen. So you need to meet them where they are. Right? I'm just going to take a moment right here just to say that I am in the middle of developing the most epic culinary skills nutrition course with Jackie Topol and Christy Del Coro of the Culinary Nutrition Collaborative. So two, like, I respect these people so much. They're colleagues, and they're just the most wonderful people to work with. We are building this culinary skills course that's going to be part of our membership that you can help people with in improving their confidence in the kitchen, right? So we're going to be grading recipes. So there's going to be level 1, 2, and 3. If you've got a client who's like a 3 on the confidence scale, you're not going to give them a level 3 recipe. You're not going to say, oh, here's this delicious mushroom risotto. Like, go make it. Like, no.
No, right? That would be a disaster.
How about overnight oats or this really simple hummus, right? So we're really going to be mapping it out from you. But
grade the recipes. So that we can figure out what's a good fit for our clients.
Exactly. And so you're going to be able to, so clinicians can take this course too. It's going to be available to them at no cost in our membership. But when they in turn share it with a client, they'll have a really good understanding of, okay, in the vegetable module, there are these, bunch of different recipes. We're going to start here, right? And then that kind of gets to goal setting too, like getting people to engage in behaviors. Make no mistake, cooking is a health behavior. Cooking is one of the most powerful mediators of health behavior, nutrition-related health behavior. If somebody doesn't cook, it's not likely that they're going to change their health outcomes, right? And when I say cook, it could be something as simple as a no-cook recipe, literally apples with nut butter and flaxseed, like something that doesn't require much, but somebody needs to show them how to do that. And then self-efficacy, which does kind of build off the confidence, but are your clients able to perform these behaviors? If not, they're not going to get the outcome that they or you are looking to get them. But that transformation, right, that you're promising them through all the messaging that Leslie is supporting you with. And then ultimately goal setting, Leslie. You really need to have culinary nutrition as part of goal setting. And when I say, we feel very confident telling people, I want you to engage in 90 minutes of rigorous physical activity every week. Great. Everybody can walk, right? It's a little bit different when you're asking people to meet cooking goals, because everybody can walk pretty much, but not everybody can cook. So it's a little bit messy. So we support you with that so that you can say, take a look at your meal plan. I want you to just focus on snacks. Let's say you're counseling a client and they're working, and like one of the areas where they struggle, and this comes up a lot in counseling, is once they get to work, they're like snacking all day long, right? So let's focus on snacks and just take a look at the meal plan. You can see it. The client can see it. Done. Just start there, right? So meeting the client where they are and setting appropriate goals, really important. So pillars: knowledge, perceived outcome, expectations, confidence, self-efficacy, and goal setting. Those certainly are not the only mediators of health behavior theory, but those are the ones I focus on.
So let's talk a little bit about one of my favorite topics, and that is the profit pyramid.
Oh. Okay. Yes.
So how does this fit?
Blew my mind when you shared that with me, because I'm like, yes, like it totally makes sense. It's so funny when you shared the profit pyramid. Does everybody know? You want to share what that is? Does everybody here know what that is?
Probably a lot of people do. I'd love to get a sense. Give me a thumbs up if you know.
A thumbs up if you know the profit pyramid. So,
and while you do that, yeah, go ahead, Jeannie.
Well, I was just going to say, when I saw your profit pyramid, to me, it was basically an upside down funnel, right? So I do run sales funnels, quite a few of them, and it's an upside down pyramid. Yours is like this, but it is essentially the same thing. You want to, at the base, at the foundation, you want to get a lot of people in to your world, right? Into your sphere. You need to generate cold leads and, attract attention so that you can move them up, right?
How do you do that? That's always the question. How do you attract more leads, Jeannie?
Content. If you are not, I'm sorry. It's content. It's all content. It's video content. So look, we started about 4 months ago, providing white labeled, so generic cooking videos to our membership, right? So now our membership has access to cooking videos that they can send to clients and include in their EHRs and use in social media, because that was a great, all of the social media platforms favor video. So we need to support our clients with video. We also support them with how to do lives. You and I do it all the time, and it's always stressful, guys. It's never easy, but you always suck a little bit less every time you do it. So you always get a little bit better. Like you're not, you have to do it, right? In order to suck less, right? So, eventually you get to a place where you're just like comfortable and you're like, stuff's going to happen and it's okay because that's what you need to do. So yes. So how do you do that at the base of the pyramid? Content creation that speaks to your ideal customer avatar. That's it.
Not be generic. It cannot be generic.
And
no one is going to.
Yeah, I mean, you got to put your brand essence in it for crying out loud. Like you spend so much time designing your logo and crafting your message, like put it in there,
Right. So that bottom of the pyramid. So guys, just draw, like those of you that aren't familiar with the concept, if you just simply draw a triangle, right? I mean, super simple, draw a triangle. For the sake of ease, we'll just divide it into 3 sections of your triangle. The bottom section is where people find you, right? This is the widest part of your triangle, and this is usually free content. Okay, so I mean, it could be doing webinars, it could be doing, talks in the community, Facebook Lives, Instagram, like a gazillion different options to get found. It could be your health profs listing.
Yep.
Anything that you do that brings people in and expands your reach so the right people find you. That is the base of your triangle. And then in the middle, and again, there's like some nuances here, but just for the sake of our conversation today, the middle would be your leverage offers, right? This is where I always say it's the next best thing to cloning yourself, right? This middle section. And as practitioners, many of us really, really love working with groups. Like I think many of us enjoy teaching. And so this would be your group programs, your courses, your, those passive income types of opportunities that you create for yourself in your business. And then at the top of your pyramid, you've got your one-to-one services. And these are your high touch offers. So one-to-one, generally, this is your highest price point. The higher or the more personalized attention in your offer, generally the higher the price point, right?
Yes.
So yeah, and so that's the whole idea. So I think what I love about Jeannie's content is, I mean, there's a lot of really cool things, and I've seen it work. I've actually witnessed. Actually, I can share a little success story, kind of off the cuff.
Oh, fun! I haven't heard this yet.
Yeah. It's a really good one.
Good.
So one of my clients, this was, I don't know, 6 months ago or so. So she's more in the intuitive eating market, right? And kind of like, really kind of like, oh, how can I jumpstart this? How can I really catch people's attention? And so what she did, I thought this was brilliant, is she went to Jeannie's content library. She herself is a huge fan of Trader Joe's, okay? And she talked to some girlfriends, just kind of like got a sense of what people were looking for. And she extracted from Jeannie's library this, I think it was like a Trader Joe's shopping list.
It's the ultimate guide to Trader Joe's. Yeah, basically.
Okay, guys. So what she did, this is super cool. So she branded that. She used that as her freebie. And she found a couple of local Facebook groups. Okay. And I think that's really important for the strategy. Like Facebook groups that she was a part of, I think it was the local moms group in New Jersey, right?
Excellent.
So she was I love that because you're not just like an outsider just trying to like, you know what I mean? Like she was a part of this group and she came in. Anyway, bottom line is she left this really nice post and said, I came up with this resource. I know everyone's like pulling their hair out right now with kids at home and COVID, and who would have thought we'd be homeschooling? And here's this awesome tool for you. Oh my God, can I just say, this was a great success story. So she must have gotten easy 70 opt-ins from that, just from that one post. But what's really cool is she got at least 3 new private clients at $1,500 a pop from that one post.
Okay, so she's paid for many years of her Living Planet RX Prime membership. So that's a great story, Leslie. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
it was so exciting. It was a thrill to see, and it was super helpful and very relevant. And at the end of the day, it was just such a great way for her to, again, serve a population, really expand her reach, and do it in a way that felt really authentic. So
yeah,
I love that.
I love that. So like everything, so that particular ebook, I think it's like 12 pages long. So it's not an insignificant, it's not like a handout, right? It's not an insignificant piece of content. Another piece of content that got used very heavily in the past, what are we, like 18 months, 20 months now, was Nutrition for Your Ultimate Guide to Nutrition for Optimal Immunity. Right. So all about immunity and the immune system and foods that support, we're very careful to say, and then this is like the evidence-based piece of it, right? We don't say that foods can boost immunity because that's not true. They can support immunity for sure, but boosting is a really powerful word and you don't want to float that out there. So when we're creating content, we're really thinking about the words that we're using, and our community keeps us in check. Every once in a while, they'll be like, could you just change the wording here a little bit? Yes, of course. Like you guys are the experts, right? So finding that piece of content that speaks to your ideal customer is key. And it's, you don't just do it one time, right? So that client of yours, Leslie, used it once to generate, 3 leads. And people might be saying, well, wow, 70 people downloaded it, but only 3 people joined her program. Like, guys, that actually is an amazing conversion rate. Right.
I do want to comment on that.
Yeah.
Guys, back to that pyramid, right? That's her high level, right? That is her one-to-one services.
Yeah.
Those other 70 people, who knows when they're going to sign up, right? Like that was just right out of the gate. That was like seriously 2 days later.
Yeah. And that just what you said, Leslie, like you have those other, 67 people now, right? What you do with those 60, so now those are no longer cold leads. Those are warm leads, right? What you want to do is nurture them in an email sequence, which we also provide. So, and we don't just provide nutrition education content. It's a lot of what we do and it's my expertise. So like I focus on that a lot, but I also, certainly in the past 3 years, have become an expert in my own business on scaling and using Facebook ads and email sequences, like all these things that I actually love learning about. So I love technology and I love marketing. That was actually my first college diploma was communications and marketing. And so I love that. So we provide, I think, 6 email sequences that they're basically like Mad Libs, like insert your brand here, insert your product here. But, your practitioners have like our members that have a huge head start rather than looking at a blank Google Doc thinking, oh my gosh, like, where am I going to start? Like, Googling email sequences or just buying templates, like, it's not the easiest route. Like we do our best to provide. Oh, Abby has a question. Joined late. Would this be a good fit for someone who takes cooking and has no time to cook nutritious meals and also lives outside the US? So a great question. So yes, Abby, I mean, if you're talking about yourself and or a client, there are plenty of resources that support people with kind of non-cooking. We actually have a guide called Frozen to Fabulous, and that we created just before the pandemic. So it was ironic that came out. That focuses on how do you take something from your freezer and like frozen shrimp or frozen green beans and like transform it, or we have an entire recipe guide on no cook meals. So we do focus on culinary skills development, Abby, but not high level. Like it starts wherever the patient is at. We don't support people in eating out, although the Trader Joe's was probably as close as you get to that. But we do support people with really simple things. And then the outside the US question, we have people all over the world using our content, all over the world. We have a lot in Australia, Canada, South Africa, because we partner with 3X4 Genetics, which we haven't even talked about yet. So we have, so
Okay.
our meal plans do have metrics, so you can convert everything to metrics. And, our content is, it's evidence-based, it's nutrition, it's culinary focused, so appropriate for everybody. So, if I have a client who's like a little scared in the kitchen, I might send them, the overnight oats video or a smoothie video and make the Trader Joe's, right? If they're in South Africa, I'm not going to send them the Trader Joe's. I'll do something else. But tons of stuff.
Let's touch just for a minute because we're almost out of time.
Okay.
I have noticed that you've got a couple new partnerships and a couple of my absolute favorite companies, I might add.
Yes.
And that's FullScript and 3x4. So
yes.
tell us just how does that benefit our shared audience?
So first of all, we only partner with kind of like gold standard individuals in their kind of pillar, right? So we partner with Leslie because Leslie is just like, rock star in her pillar of business development and business coaching. 3x4, interesting about them. So 3x4 Genetics it's a nutrigenomic testing company. So essentially you have access to a test that you can either include in a package or your patient can pay for. It's a mouth swab. You send it out. A report comes back and identifies a pathway that you need to focus on to ensure positive health outcomes kind of long-term based on your personal nutrigenomics. What's interesting about 3x4 Genetics is that we were, as a meal planning company, I was approached by at least half a dozen genetic companies saying, we need meal plans. We want to use your meal plans. I'm like, oh, I don't know. Like some was stool testing, some was like, it was like kind of like all this random stuff. So you know what? I called our colleagues, Kathy Swift, actually was number one on my list, Kathy Swift and Sheila Dean, who I know you know personally. And I'm like, what's the deal? Who's the best in the business? 3x4. I'm like, done. That's what and I'm only going to partner with them. So you benefit because for all of those pathways that come back on the nutrigenomic testing, we created a meal plan for. So if it comes back that my client should follow the inflammation that needs to pay attention to their inflammation pathway, you have a 3x4 inflammation pathway meal plan that you can click and send along to you don't even have to think about it. So 3x4 gave me their protocol. We transitioned it to a meal plan. So we are bridging the gap between the science and the food. And we say we're making science delicious with all of our partnerships. That's what we're doing. Same with FullScript. Now, FullScript is interesting because that's an online dispensary for supplements, right? What I love about FullScript is that they totally subscribe to food first, right? As medicine, right? You shouldn't just take supplements. You need to address the nutrition, and then the supplements are just that. They supplement nutrition. So we worked with FullScript to create meal plans for their protocols. So we just provided them with a Mediterranean, a low FODMAP, and an anti-inflammatory. So when you are a Living Plate RX member, you get access to FullScript integration, 3x4 integration, and others. We integrate with other platforms as well. But these two organizations, Leslie, that I know you have relationships with too, we're just so thrilled to work with them. And
my 3x4 genetic test that I'm going to do this weekend.
Oh, I did it. It was great. It was yeah,
they're
so great. And the support that their team gives you is incredible in terms of training. So you don't have to have, very deep knowledge on nutrigenomics. Like, trust the process, trust the science, get the training. But the 3x4 report that comes back is really very easy to read and understand and interpret. And because we support you with the meal plans and 3x4 supports you with the content to deliver to your clients, it just makes it really easy. So yeah, always happy to partner with kind of these gold standard institutions. Yeah.
So anything else that you want to add as we wrap up for today, Jeannie? I know we could go on and on. We'll have to do this again.
And I honestly,
never enough time.
There's never enough time. I love speaking to you. And I love serving our community like that. I am a mission-driven person. I am here to serve, nutrition professionals and the way that I can serve you is by saving you time and by supporting you in scaling your practice, right? Because it doesn't make any sense for me to give you things that aren't going to support you in growing your business, right? Like, what I love about our community, Leslie, is that we're all like in it for the same reason, pretty much. We're all in it to help people. We all want to help people. but you can't help people and you can't help more people unless you have a profitable business, right? So that, the exchange of money is really just exchange for value, right? So I'm providing super, super high value to you so that you can in turn provide value to your clients and grow your business. So again, here for you, however I can help you. If you're watching this as a recording, you can tag me with any questions that you have. Leslie and I will probably send a follow-up email to everybody, just letting them know how they can learn more about, what we have in place and what's coming down the pike. So much more content coming. We're really excited.
Awesome. So how can people reach out to you?
So J Petrucci at livingplaterx.com. You can also just go to livingplaterx.com and you can apply for an account. So you have to apply to become a member of our community. So we ask you to upload your credential, whether you are a healthcare professional or a wellness professional. Thank you for that, Leslie. We have kind of a specific program for each because, health coaches aren't necessarily interested in content surrounding chronic kidney disease, right? And it's not appropriate. But why do I need to include that in their library? So we actually have 2 separate programs, one for wellness professionals. So that includes health coaches, physical therapy, not physical therapists, probably healthcare, but I'm thinking of a certified personal trainer, for example, would definitely be a wellness professional. And then the healthcare professionals, of course, registered dietitians, but doctors of chiropractic, naturopaths, nurse practitioners who do more clinical work. So you just apply, let us know who you are. Feel free to send me an email. Happy to answer questions or tag me here. And Leslie and I are happy to support you.
We'll take care of you. Okay, Jeannie. Oh my gosh, what a pleasure. It was so much fun.
Yay. Thank you.
We'll
Thank
do
you
it again
so much. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Connect, I say. Why don't we do it more? We are going to do it more.
Yes.
All right, guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thanks.
And I will look forward to seeing you all next week. Bye for now.
Okay, see you in the kitchen soon. Bye.